What's going on, guys? Zac Perna here, and in today's video I'm going to be comparing my current approach to training and dieting with my older approach, basically when I started. So when I was maybe 16, 17, and just talking a little bit about the journey and the mistakes I made. So before we get into the video today, there are two very important things you need to know. One is that this video is proudly sponsored by ExpressVPN. Now, ExpressVPN is a way of basically hiding your own personal data when you're on the internet. So it's a virtual private network, there you go. And it's a secure and it's a secure connection between yourself, your device, and the internet. So the reason why I actually use this ExpressVPN is to get access to other countries' Netflixes. So bear with me here. If you want to increase the variety of shows and unblock content, then you can use this. Very easy to do. You literally just choose which country you want to be in, technically, for your computer, and then you can watch whatever you want. So for the guys in America, you can watch Rick and Morty, which is my favorite show. You can watch that on Netflix. And for the Aussies, you guys can watch Lord of the Rings. Well, we can watch Lord of the Rings, which is great because I need to back my fellow hobbits. On top of that, it's got a million other uses. If you want to just keep everything more confidential, privacy, security, stop hackers, all that kind of stuff. Really, really good. And if you use the link in the description, which is expressvpn.com/Zac, you will get 3 months free. So check that out. And that is pretty much it as far as ExpressVPN goes. Check it out, really good. I actually use it myself, have been for a while as well, which is cool. And the second very important thing before we get into it is that I change shirts more than any other YouTube video because I filmed it in a few days. So you're about to see 3 different Gymshark shirts, but they're new, and so that's also good. Anyway, let's go over there and talk about my diet. Please don't jump up. Is this framed up right? Okay guys, so the purpose of this video is I'm gonna look back on my first attempt at dieting, the first couple of attempts, look at what I was doing wrong and why, and how we can fix it, and also the training as well, so the same thing applies. Now I want to compare basically the first time I really started dieting and trying to get in shape and lose fat when I was about 17. That's kind of when I thought I knew what I was doing. But I also want to quickly touch on the first time I ever basically tried to get in shape and what I did wrong and stuff. So I have to give that a quick mention. Now this is the body you saw in the thumbnail, I'm guessing, when I was a little bit skinny. And at that point I was actually trying to lose weight. I was trying to get lean, get a six-pack, because what teenager doesn't want a six-pack? So I started, and all I did, I knew nothing about dieting, food, anything, calories, whatever. So all I did was I just opted for what I thought was healthy. So I had a whole bunch of bircher muesli in the morning, which was actually just oats soaked in orange juice with full sugar yogurt on top, heaps of fruit. It was basically just a carb bomb. Then for lunch, I would have, I think, chicken wraps, and then dinner was whatever mum cooked, which was generally pretty healthy. And then I'd also just do some random things like have snacks. Like one time I had a whole bag of almonds after school because I thought it was healthy, and vomited. It's all good, threw up everywhere. But it's one of those things, I didn't really know what I was doing, so I just went for the healthy options. So at the same time, I was also doing a lot of running. I didn't really train in the gym at this point. It was just home workouts and running. So after a while, I ended up dropping a bit of weight because I was a bit of a chubby kid. So I dropped a bit of weight doing this just intuitive, healthy approach. But it hit a point where literally my abs were just dead flat. So I lost the puppy fat that I needed to, but there was no way I was getting abs. So I can't remember how I was really feeling at the time. I think it was pretty good, but I was light. I was like 50 kilos. So looking back on that, the one good thing I did was just started cooking my food. So I started making my lunches, and doing that indirectly, you're not gonna add a lot of calories to your meals. You're not eating this fried, shitty processed junk. You're actually cooking. So I think that was a good step. That was a step in the right direction. One thing I could have done better was just starting to research about what's in food. Look at calories, macros, and start just educating myself in the process. So if you're just in the very beginning of your journey and you're just starting, that's what I would say is look at what is in the food that you're eating. So calories, macros, energy, get your head around that kind of stuff, just so you have a bit of an awareness. Now, let's talk about when I actually started getting serious into it. So probably maybe 7 years ago now, 6 years ago. Yes, I was around 18, 17. I was trying to get abs. So at this point, I'd already been dieting, already been training for a couple of years. I thought I had a lot of muscle, and I thought, okay, it's time to get shredded. So this was my first ever diet. And I completely set myself up for it was a bit of a nightmare. So this was my diet. I probably don't even need this to tell you guys right now, but basically I would get up, train. Mum and dad would drop me in the gym about 5 in the morning. Then I would train, have breakfast was a protein shake. Then second meal recess was chicken and veg, no sauces, no dressings. Lunch, chicken and veg. After school, some grapefruit with stevia on it because I heard Ulysses had it and thought it made you shredded. And then also dinner was chicken and veg. Before bed, casein shake, but that's a slow digesting protein, completely pointless. If you have whey, just use whey. So You can see right there, all it is protein, there's no carbs and there's no fats. At one point I even paired this with an intermittent fast trying to get more body fat down. So I was starving myself, not eating, and then eating nothing at all, just protein. So basically it was not sustainable. So Joel is gonna help me cook. He's gonna actually cook the entire thing, and we're gonna meal prep basically a day when I was 17 and what that looked like. So let's do it. Okay, so this was basically my typical diet. I would train, have a protein shake after the workout, recess, lunch, dinner. Then I would have a snack, which was grapefruit and stevia, purely because I thought this was burning fat by itself. I was like, grapefruit's a fat burner, it's burning fat.
How misguided are you?
Misguided. And then before bed, I would have another shake. So I actually had casein at the time, I didn't have whey. It's just thick as shit, and it is meant to be a slower digesting protein. Well, it is, but honestly, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So if you're thinking, hey, should I buy a whey and then a casein, don't worry about your casein. Just have a whey protein, use it for everything. Oxy whey, if you want to get that, that's my favorite. Use Zac10 up there for a discount, ehplabs.com. There is no shortage of protein here. No carbs, basically, other than the grapefruit, and no fats. In summary, yes, this will get you lean because it is no calories. But the problem with that is you will get fat loss in the beginning, in the early stages, but it is not sustainable. So this is what happened with me, and it was reflected in my physique because I hit a wall where I was eating like nothing. And then I decided to do this, but then fasting as well. And I'm thinking that'll do it. And my fat loss plateaued a fair bit. So I'm thinking I can't get that last layer off, and I couldn't burn that last layer of body fat. I looked skinny, bit depleted, I looked flat and a bit skinny fat. So I'm thinking this sucks. The reason why it is not sustainable is because, as you can tell, it's so bland. So all you want to do is cheat. So it makes you more likely to cheat in your diet. Then another one is because you have no energy to train. So we have no carbs or fats here that's fueling our training session, only just protein. So we're basically just running on protein and converting that to carbs through gluconeogenesis if you want to get scientific. All good, but basically your training sessions aren't going to be fueled if you're starving yourself. That's what I was doing here. I was starving myself. So the whole purpose of training when you're in a deficit is to keep the muscle that you've got, keep that strength. For me, it went down. So I think I was losing a bit more muscle than I needed to. And as a result, the look changes. You don't look as full, you start to look a bit skinny, a little bit skinny fat. And also what happens when you're dieting is that your NEAT reduces. So your NEAT is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, and that is basically the calories that you burn unintentionally, just by me moving my hands like this, going to wash the dishes, getting up off the couch, standing instead of sitting, all that stuff. That adds up a lot. So basically, if you're starving yourself, not eating enough, your NEAT is going down whether you like it or not. Like subconsciously you'll do it. So you end up burning less calories basically at the end of the day. So you can hit a plateau eating nothing because you're burning less calories and you are not training hard enough. Now that's basically what happened with me. So if I could go back and change this, like we'll compare this to my current diet now. So lately I've been having a big breakfast of poached eggs, some toast, might have some smoked salmon on there as well. I'll have a whey shake throughout the day. I'll have a very fatty cut of meat throughout the day with some vegetables and maybe some carbs. And then for dinner, I'll have a really big chicken salad and I'll overload on whatever I want to put in that. Avocado, sauces, whatever. And then before bed, I'll usually have another meal and I'll add whatever I want into a yogurt mix. And that's probably about 500 calories, like Biscoff, the works. Just a little bit more sustainability in terms of treating myself to the things that I want to eat every day, but also paying attention to the nutrient density and quality of food. So here, we're not dealing with a lot of nutrition. This is lacking vitamins a lot. And also just macros in general. We have no good fats here, there's absolutely nothing. So at the moment, I'm trying to put in a lot of good fats in my diet. I eat a lot of salmon throughout the week, and it's very specifically doing so. So even the fatty cuts of meat, a lot of that. And that way, I'm actually giving my body the vitamins and minerals it needs instead of just focusing on the macros. So if you're kind of looking at your own diet and thinking, well, what am I doing? What should I do? I would say focus on nutrition and do a bit of reading and figure out what is in foods, and let's actually make your diet enjoyable as well as nutrient dense. So they're very important things. Don't cut on such little calories if you don't need to. Always start high, bring it down. If you are not losing weight at 2,200 calories, sweet, let's bring it down to 2,000, see what happens. Instead of just jumping into 1,500, then you're left with, okay, well, what the hell do I do after that? So that's why it is a very slippery slope into getting into that starvation level of calories where your body is just not functioning well, and that's not what we want. We want a nice, slow, sustainable approach to dieting, which is what I've been doing right now, what I've done for like the past 6 months. So my last cut, very slow, took about 6 months, training went up, strength was still great, and I didn't get any crazy cravings or urges to binge, which is very, very good in my book. So aside from the diet, my training at this point in time was, like I said, it was pretty below average. I wasn't prioritizing body parts. We'll talk about my weight training in just a second, but my cardio was 3 times a week, sprints, doing HIIT terribly, and then I might go running for a few times a week. But now let's take a look at my old training routine. So my training went through a variety of phases. The first phase was just go in the gym and do whatever I'm feeling. So it would be, we'd start with bicep curls. It was me, my brother, and a couple mates. We start with bicep curls every single day, then move on to, we literally, I quote, "You feeling a bit of bench?" Yeah, and we just go do some bench. It was whatever, it was all over the place. We just kind of got in there and trained. It was more fun, but at one point I said, okay, let's actually get a thing going. Let's get a split going for the first time. So we split up the body parts into different areas. Now, we would just copy kind of whatever Arnold was doing in his book. We'd copy whatever we read online. It was, and then we just make them up basically. So we choose a bunch of exercises that look fun, stick them in the plan, and just go for it, not rest. So one of the typical workout programs that we did, this was a typical workout. This was based off an Arnold split. It was shoulders and legs. So shoulders and legs would look like dumbbell press. We would not go anywhere near low enough with a dumbbell press. It was literally just the bare minimum. It would be from here to there, like that. That would be the partial of all partial reps. And I would load it up. And as a result, my shoulders they ended up getting injured and it just hurt. Then we do what we called granddaddies, because Arnold said these are the granddaddies of shoulder exercises. So we just called them granddaddies. And then we would do side raises with a lot of swing. Then we would do kettlebell swings with even more swing. And then if we were lucky, we'd do leg press for a couple of sets, very, very shallow reps here, and then quad extension for a couple of sets. We didn't do hamstring curls ever. I didn't do hamstring curls my whole first 2 years of training. I didn't even know a hamstring needed to be trained directly. So at the end of my shoulder session, when I was pretty gassed, I'd go, yeah, I'll do some legs. And it would literally be like 10 minutes of legs. Because I thought, who needs legs? I'm not a fitness model. I'm not gonna make money off my body when I'm older. I had no clue that I'd get shit for it 10 years later. Anyway, so that was my problem. Now, I want to talk a little bit about how my training is structured now and a bit of like, I guess, good and bad things. So what I should have done at the time was get a proper split going. So I would recommend a push-pull leg split, especially for beginners. But I mean, I follow one right now because I can get more frequency in training anyway. So I would say do a push-pull leg split, chest, shoulders, triceps, then you've got back, biceps, rear delts, and then your legs. Now, if you want to get a little bit more technical, you can actually split that up into 2 variations of each. That's what I do. That's what I give to my coaching clients. So you can have push where it's shoulder dominant, and then push where you got chest dominant and stuff like that. So that would be the go. Then I would say work on your form. This is one thing I really didn't do, because if anybody picked on our form when we were younger, we would get very upset. Almost as if they said you're a piece of shit. That's what it felt like. If I said to Joel, hey, you're not going low enough on that dumbbell press, he'd be like, fuck off. Like literally, that's what he said it multiple times, I think. Back when we were younger, we just like took that shit personally. So it's one thing, you can't get attached to exercises or the way you do things. Just remove that if you guys are thinking that. If somebody is trying to help you with your form, just think this is a chance for me to get better. So you should be seeking that advice anyway. So always try and better your form. Full range, stretch, and squeeze. So a little comparison, here's a workout that I would follow when I was younger. Here, and I would rest between sets just as much as I needed to, like maybe 30 seconds to a minute, because I wanted to feel like I was just sweating. I was not progressing in weight because I wasn't getting any stronger because I had no rest. Also, I would train everything about once a week. So not enough really for muscle growth. Here is something that I would recommend now, where you're training things once to twice per week, but you're resting enough to recover. So you're getting stronger, you're able to progressively overload, which means you're growing more muscle tissue, hopefully if you're doing it right. So differences is I would even thrash my body with 50 sets for chest sometimes. Insane. It's just ridiculous. I'm surprised I didn't get injured. So if you're watching this and you're a kid and you go, hang on, I can actually do heaps. I can do 40 sets for chest. My chest can take 30 sets. Mine can't. So, and I mean, I've been training for like 10 years. So if I try to do 30 sets for chest, I'm completely cooked, I'm getting nothing out of it. It's just gonna be a whole lot of this happening. So be smart, don't overdo it with volume, rest enough, and actually have an organized workout routine that you're able to track and go, okay, cool, last week I hit this number, I'm gonna try and aim for this one. And then you keep doing that day in, day out for months on end, and hopefully you're gonna grow some muscle tissue. So I think the biggest mistake people make when they're starting gym is the form is always an issue. Exercise selection isn't great, and I think they lack a structured routine. So they don't have anything that they can look at that they're gonna try and beat. They're just literally walking in there and just trying to fuck their bodies up. That's what I did for a couple of years. And granted, you're gonna get gains if you're training. If you're training and eating, you're gonna make gains, but it just you'll get to a point where you'll stop making gains, you won't know why, you might injure yourself, and then you have to deal with it. So it's better to address it from the start, and then you guys can learn more as you go. Now, one thing a lot of young guys love to dive straight into when they start training is supplements. Now, because supplements are so well marketed and so heavily marketed, people think that they're a little bit crazier than what they are. So me, for sure, just speaking from experience, I remember thinking that a mass gainer was gonna be like literally get me humongous. And then I could get as big as I wanted as long as I had bulking phases with gainers in them. I didn't know that a mass gainer was simply just protein and some carbs, a little bit of fats in there just to get some calories in. I thought it actually separately contributed to muscle growth. So I didn't really do any research on what it actually is. I just looked at the packet and went, whoa. So I had a lot of gainers in my day. That is a bit of a mistake. For me, it's a big mistake because I gained fat relatively easy. So do a lot of people out there. So all I was doing was just gaining fat, more fat than I needed to, and then I had to burn that fat off later and would eat into a little bit of muscle. So I would go through these bulks and then cuts, and it would be drastic. I'd be on the upper end and lower end of each. So not good. What I would recommend to you guys is don't get a gainer because most likely you don't need one. If you can't get your calories in and you literally cannot gain any weight, maybe it's a good idea, but even still, I would suggest just making your own smoothies up. So you're having like a gainer out of whole foods, basically. So I think your body will take that a lot easier instead of just piling in heaps of sugars and just in a shake and smashing it down. So again, if you're new to training as well and you're watching this thinking, well, what supplements should I take? I would literally only suggest a few. Protein, because obviously you need protein to build muscle. This is a little bit too bright, sorry about that. But you need protein to build muscle, it's essential. And if you can't get that through your food and you're struggling to eat enough, then a whey protein shake is great, and it's convenient too. That's the beauty of it. And it tastes amazing. It gives you a bit of sweetness into your daily diet. And another one is creatine. Creatine is good. It has been proven to increase muscle strength and size. 5 grams a day, don't do any wizardry with it. You don't need to go crazy and load it. If you have 5 grams a day for long enough, your muscle will be saturated with creatine and then it does its job. Just keep it in there. If you want, you can cycle off it. It is ideal to cycle off basically anything. It's not so you can resensitize to it. It's more just to give your receptors and everything a little bit of a break, give your liver a break from having to constantly kind of process through everything. So it won't hurt. And another one is an optional pre-workout. I mean, this is mine. This is my new pre-workout with EHP Labs, shameless plug, but it is the best. But I always mention a pre-workout because I personally really rated it. And it was a difference for me between some days not feeling like going to gym and then it would be really wanting to go to gym. So I think for me, a pre-workout was great because it actually I think a pre-workout gets you to gym. This one will actually improve the performance at the gym, but I'm not gonna say that you're gonna build more muscle if you take this. You'll get a better pump, you'll get better focused, you'll have better workouts, and then what you do with that is up to you. Let's hope you can build a bit more muscle. But I'm not gonna take any credit for gains yet, but I do think the pre-workouts are a nice little addition. But it just depends on you. If you don't need that extra little bit of stimulus to get to the gym, sweet, don't worry about it. But I think for me, I needed it and I really enjoyed it as well. So I guess I wouldn't recommend taking anything with, I wouldn't recommend taking any of these if you're like under 15. I think it's just pointless, just get in the gym and train. But I think if you're 15, 16 and you want to take it a little bit more serious, you can start experimenting with some of these. And I can back these too, there's nothing crazy in them and it won't hospitalize you if that's what you're worried about for some reason. So these are my recommended ones. And otherwise, as far as like test boosters go, anything like that, don't even worry about it. Don't even touch them or look at them. Anything else is just a good multivitamin, some fish oils, maybe some magnesium, that stuff, but that's just kind of like little extras. I wouldn't recommend every single person do that because obviously it does depend on your budget and your goals. So that is pretty much it for this entire video, guys. I kind of wanted to give a little rundown on a couple of the mistakes I made, how I didn't really look at things, I guess, the right way, properly, and I could have done a lot more research earlier on. So if I could kind of sum up this video in a few sentences, it would be research as much as you can, really just learn, constantly learn about what's in food, learn about how your body personally and individually reacts to certain types of foods and calories as well. Just be very, I guess, aware of everything. Don't just go through and think, oh yeah, if I eat chicken, I'll be shredded. Just be aware of what the diet is doing to your body and also your mental state as well. So just be aware of all these things. And also don't do anything too drastic. Don't go crazy bulks, crazy cuts. Don't try to get stronger in a matter of days and go crazy and load up the bar with weight you can't lift. Make sure your form is good. Make sure you have a structured routine that you can follow and you can adhere to. Make sure you're resting enough in the workout itself so you can recover in between sets and still perform. Make sure you're resting enough at home outside of the gym, getting good sleeps, basically fueling yourself with food and recovering well enough so you can smash it again. Take your rest days when you need them. What else? Don't go crazy on supplements. Don't get sold into gainers and all that kind of stuff. Keep it simple. Be very consistent, be very patient, and I guarantee you, if you love the process, it's easier said than done, but find ways of enjoying the process. For me, that's the little progressions in the gym. That little bit stronger, a little bit of better pump, maybe you got an extra vein coming through, all those kind of things will keep you going, and those little successes will be your motivation to keep going. And then before you know it, you were like me, and it's 10 years later, and you go, wow, let's look back at the last 10 years. It's pretty crazy, but that is pretty much it for this video, guys. I hope you took something out of it and learned from, I guess, mistakes that I made and why I couldn't achieve the body that I thought I wanted, which is pretty much a mix of unrealistic expectations and also starving myself, to put it very simply. But that is it for me. I've got nothing left for you guys, and you definitely know what to do. Stay massive.
All these sexy jeans in my section, and slide into your DMs in the PM and the AM. Then I slide into your feelings when you see just what I'm saying.